How Wendelin, Illinois came about its name is the result of a hermit saint, a journey on foot by two brothers from Toronto, Canada to southern Indiana, a Civil War veteran's nod to his birthplace, and a mix-up in the mail. Very little for sure is known about Saint Wendelin. His earliest biographies do not appear until after 1417. The name Wendelin means wanderer or pilgrim in Old High German. According to legend, Wendelin was a son of a Scottish king born around 554. In his childhood, he was very prayerful and devout. Leaving his home, Wendelin secretly set out on a pilgrimage to Rome. On his way back, he settled as a hermit at Westerns in the Diocese of Trier in western Germany. He entered the service of a wealthy landowner as a herdsman and was often criticized for his idle life. The story is told that when Wendelin was working as a herdsman, he often took his flock to a mountain to pray there in silence. One day his master came upon him and was angry because he knew Wendelin had not the time to get the flock home before sunset. However, when the master arrived home, he discovered the shepherd and his flock already there. Realizing this was a miracle from God, he granted Wendelin his greatest desire, a life of solitude, and built him a hermitage in the vicinity of the farm. Wendelin was later selected abbot of the nearby Benedictine Abbey of Thole. Around 1617, Wendelin became ill and died. Wendelin was buried at the hermitage, and a chapel was built over the grave. The town of St. Wendel grew up nearby, named in his honor. The present-day beautiful Gothic church was built and dedicated in 1360, and St. Wendel's relics were transferred there and still remain there today in a stone sarcophagus. St. Wendelin is often depicted in art as either a youth or bearded man, with a shepherd's bag and a book in one hand and a shepherd's crook in the other. He is often pictured with feeding lambs, cattle, and swine, while a crown and shield appear at his feet because he rejected his noble birth. St. Wendelin is the patron saint of country people, herdsmen, and is still venerated in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. His feast day is celebrated on October 22nd. Brothers Wendelin and Marcus Wassmer were German-Canadian coopers or barrel makers who immigrated from the Black Forest in Baden, Germany to Toronto, Canada around 1830. Legend has it that in early 1837 they walked south to escape the cold Canadian winters to southwestern Indiana near Evansville. As the hot summer approached, the brothers walked back to Toronto. Upon their return, they found they no longer had jobs and returned on foot once again to the same grounds they had visited that spring. Their second arrival is said to have happened in the fall of 1837. The brothers would purchase some land, and the area was named St. Wendel in honor of Wendel's patron saint, Wendelin of Trier. Prior to December 1841, Mass had been celebrated in St. Wendel's Parish from the time of its founding in the home of Martin Cool. But on Christmas week of 1841, the congregation, composed of 20 families, prepared the material and erected, in 5 days, a log church built on land donated by Wendel Wassmer. In 1852, a post office was established in St. Wendel, Indiana, and remained in operation until it was discontinued in 1907. Marcus Wassmer never married and lived with his brother until his death in 1846 at the age of 36. In 1853, a larger church was built over some graves, which was not uncommon in those days, Marcus being one of them. The church was solemnly blessed on October 22, 1853, the feast day of St. Wendelin. Wendelin, or Wendel, as he was often called, married Katharina Mueller in 1841 and would have 11 children. Wendelin would pass away on June 22, 1894, at the age of 92, and is buried in the St. Wendel Church Cemetery. Valentine Schmitt was born in St. Wendel, Indiana on September 9, 1842, to Leonard Schmitt and Maria Ann Gunther. He would be baptized in the St. Wendel log church that had been built the prior year. Valentine grew up in the St. Wendel, Indiana area, and on December 8, 1863, at the age of 21, he would enlist as a private in the 32nd Indiana Infantry Company E Regiment. The 32nd Indiana, known as the 1st German Regiment, would join General Sherman's Atlanta campaign and would fight in a number of battles from May until September 1864. Following the Battle of Jonesboro, Valentine, along with the remainder of the 32nd Indiana, was attached to the Department of Texas and served in Texas until they mustered out on December 4, 1865. Valentine would marry Genevieve Fehrenbacher, and they would settle in northern Clay County, Illinois. A number of German Catholics from southwestern Indiana, St. James, St. Joseph, Hodstadt, and St. Wendel, had moved to this area where land was cheaper than it was in Indiana. Also, some disagreements over the practice of pew renting in the churches caused some to move. Around 1868, Valentine would build a little red brick store across from Joseph Cool's property and blacksmith shop. The building was located on the west side of the North Road. It was here that Valentine would set up the first post office, and with no established name, Valentine would name it St. Wendel after the town in Indiana where he was born. Thus, the mission of St. Wendel was established. Valentine would travel 100 miles to Evansville to purchase supplies for the store, including groceries and barrels of whiskey that he would sell for 25 cents a quart. He gained notoriety while operating the store and the post office until his death on June 16, 1876. Frequent mix-up in the mail between the Illinois and Indiana St. Wendels forced a change in 1902. St. Wendel, Illinois was changed to Wendelin, Illinois. At this time, a new store was opened by Joseph-Olney, located on the south side of the street in Wendelin, just east of the present tavern, and the Wendelin post office was located there. Later, it moved to the Fehrenbacher feed mill, and eventually, Henry Suckinger operated a small post office along the east side of Pigtail Alley. The Wendelin post office was discontinued in 1943. During its history, Wendelin has been home to multiple general stores, a feed mill, garage, restaurant, school, and since its founding, Holy Cross Parish. Wendelin, Illinois' name, much like its early ancestors, is part legend, by way of the ocean, with an unusual backstory, always rooted in its heritage, and a deep Catholic faith.